Hello, this is the Awaken Podcast. I am Francis Ufamadu.
What is up, everyone? I'm Tracy. Welcome back to another episode. We're super excited to have you guys here tuning into another episode. Francis, what's up? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. Got the juices flowing, Always good to have like the creative juices flowing for a podcast and talking and sharing your feelings, sharing your emotions. You have to be ready for those things. And I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling good. How about you? How's the day?
Good. I like to hear that. Yeah, same too. I'm really excited for our episode today. We took a little week off last week. And so, all these thoughts and all these things that I wanted to share, I've just been like putting in my notes. So I'm really excited to talk about this topic and share with everyone what value we have to bring to this topic. So let's just get right into it. So today we want to talk about the process of learning to love yourself, learning to trust yourself, and learning to believe in not only yourself, but your journey as well. So Francis, maybe tell us, what does it mean to you to love yourself, to trust yourself, believe in yourself?
So what I think it means, right? And I'll say I learned how to do this late in my life, but I just never wanted to give myself attention.
Mm-hmm.
It was just weird. It's like a weird logic to me earlier in my growth.
Yes.
Where it's like, love myself. No, I got to care about other people. Like, why would I be so selfish? It actually took getting out of a serious relationship to just be alone for a time and just be by myself. And from there, I started being, like you say a lot, being your authentic self came from me being alone, because I just started expressing myself through my podcast, Way to Work, and I started creating with the camera, started just being myself completely. And from there, I started to feel okay with being myself. And then from there it grew into, I'm a bad motherfucker. Like,
really, truly
cool.
Yes.
I love this dude. So I think for me, it really comes down to understanding who you are, being okay with it, being in a place where it's essentially okay just to love who you are and what you're doing. And it's respectable to you. And you get to a level where anyone can say whatever they want. And you're like, no, I'm me. I don't know what to tell y'all. Like, this ain't going anywhere, but this is what it is. I love this, and no one can change it whatsoever. So just getting to that level of loving who you are, loving everything you do, loving the ups and downs that you go through, and then realizing that it's so solidified, that love is so solidified that no one can change it no matter what goes on your outside world, and realize that you're also the only one who can change the perception at that point too. So
yeah, honestly, like, facts to every single thing that you said. I think like loving yourself starts with self-awareness and being alone and like actually getting to know yourself. I feel like a lot of us are striving for self-love, but a lot of us have not taken the time to get to know who we truly are. And like, I think for a lot of us, that's like, oh, what I do for a job, or like, oh, the roles that I play in my life, as far as I'm a wife, or I'm a best friend, or I'm a daughter, or whatever, role is that you play in your life. But like, that's not even what we're talking about here. Like, loving yourself comes from knowing like who you are to your core. What do you value? Like, what experiences, good and bad, traumatic and not, like, how has that shaped me to be the person who I am, and learning to accept those experiences and learning to accept that this is what you value. And I just love what you said of it starts with that self-awareness. And a lot of the times it comes from being alone, because it's so easy to adopt things that people tell us about ourselves. And like, for me, that the self-love journey really came from realizing that a lot of the things that I thought about myself and believed about myself were almost like programmed, meaning like things that other people had told me and I had just accepted. And so having to recognize self-awareness, recognize what labels are mine and what labels are other people's, and learning to accept this is truly how I feel about myself. And just like you were saying, like, I have the ability to change the perception of myself, and that's going to change the perception that other people have about me. And so learning just who I am allowed me to be able to say, okay, this is who I am. I am that bitch. I love who I am. So yeah, I 120% agree with everything you just said as far as like what it means to love ourselves. What about like, and I feel like these are 3 different layers here. Like, you can't believe in yourself without trusting yourself, and you can't trust yourself without loving yourself, and you can't love yourself without knowing yourself. So tell me, now that we've gotten to know ourselves and now that we've loved ourselves, how do we get to that point of trusting ourselves and believing in ourselves?
That's a good question because, okay, I think, so like you said, you hit on something that really struck me, and it was the programming, unlearning the programming, right? And for a lot of my life, I was trying to keep up with the Joneses, just trying to keep up with the labels that make you a man or make you a successful person.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wasn't good at it. I was not good at it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And once I got out of that, started my entrepreneurship business, started loving what I was doing, I realized, oh, that works for a lot of people, but I'm just not into that stuff. This is what I'm into, and this is what I like to work on, and this is what I give effort towards. Just because, same with school,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like school because they weren't talking about shit I liked.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. So,
and especially
once I started,
too, like the part, I don't even mean to interrupt you, but I think what you said.
Oh yeah.
Also, like your personality being a man too, what those expectations are supposed to look like
Right.
your whole life. If those don't align, that's really hard as well.
Right. Yeah. No. 100%. Because I'm not your. I mean, whatever society paints as men, that's just not what it is for me. And that's also something where you're like, dang, there's a point in my life where I said, wow, I still like cartoons. When am I going to stop watching cartoons and watch the news? Something as simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to, like, right? So,
right. Like, why the fuck do I have to stop watching cartoons?
Right. Yeah.
When I enjoy and what I like, and it's not hurting myself, it's not hurting other people, it's not
Exactly.
keeping for my success. Like, why the fuck do I need to fall into these labels that don't align with my authenticity, with who
Right.
I know that I am and who I want to be, who I love that I am?
Exactly. And it took a lot of time to, get to the point where, I mean, I think I was in my late 20s where I said, bro, this is not going away. Just live with it and call it a day. You start finding people that are into it as well. And now it's like, okay, this is a normal thing to be a part of. But as far as trust goes, I would say once I got to a point where I was being myself and finding success regardless, that's when I said, oh, you know what? This is okay. Like, I'm finding business. I'm creating great stuff. People are like acknowledging it. Not to say I wanted validation, but it felt good to know I was doing something completely out of different, just completely different from what I've ever done. And people are like, oh, this is good. We want your business. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And it was like a click in my head where I said, yo, you're being yourself, and it's still very valuable, to the world. So let's keep this going. So I started trusting what I had going on for myself because I was finding success in little places, kept growing, and I started getting more intentional with it. And now it's a business that's growing and looking really good, I would say. So as far as trust goes, what does that look like for you, building that on your end and, trying to go the routes that you find for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, similar as you, obviously. I think it's just like finding, who you are authentically and then figuring out how you can plug that into your life, whether that's like in your career or in your relationships or whatever it is, and then taking action on that authenticity and then seeing that success, like you said, like even if that's success, like the validation, the confirmation part of it, which is so essential. I think that there's such like a negative connotation with validation, but you know, that's a whole other
I would say like it's good to get, but I think it gets a little wonky when
We're
you try
fine. It's
when you
just
do
about drawing
things
that line.
for validation.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I got to that point. I was like, oh, I'm just trying to do this to get an endorphin high right now.
Yes. Like, am I putting this out there because I want genuine feedback or because I'm trying to please other
thirsty.
people? Yes. Exactly. Yes. But, you know, just going back to that trust, like for me, it was like I said, finding those authentic pieces of myself, plugging it into my life. And then like that trust came with that evidence that was built. So it was like, okay, I've figured this out about myself. This is how I can use it in my life. I'm plugging it in and I'm, like you said, just seeing that success or, you know, success outwards, like I was saying, but success inwards. Like, wow, this makes me feel really good to do. Or, wow, I'm finding that I'm really fucking good at this and I'm not even trying. Like, and then feeling that success, seeing that success, that made me feel like I could trust myself. Like, it gave me more confidence to continue putting myself out there, and it gave me more confidence to continue to try new things because I knew like I loved myself enough where even if I made a mistake, it wasn't going to change the way that I felt about myself.
Right.
Or if I put myself out there and it just didn't work the way that I wanted it to, like I still loved myself. So like that loving myself was like the foundation to be able to put myself out there, to build the evidence to be able to trust myself.
Right. So to touch on that part real quick of like when something doesn't go the way you want, right? With all good validation, you're going to get some negative feedback, right?
Absolutely.
And with that, I've been able to, with that trust you build, you're able to kind of take that in and take it on the chin and just realize, okay, you know what? They don't agree with the vision today. That's fine. You can just reevaluate how you move forward. But a lot of times when you're into it, you can see the mistake. You can see the mess up. And that's just not a time to really harp on it and get down. You know, you may lose business. You may never get that client again. That's not what it's about. It's about, okay, how do I not make this, or how do I not let this happen again?
Yes.
And from there, you can know exactly. You can start learning how to be more positive and how to turn losing situations into learning experiences, which help you in the end game. You know, at the end of the day, if you learn from it, you win. So
exactly,
it's just really getting awareness of that, you know, just understanding, okay, I messed up here. How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? And change it. And then, you know, when your other opportunities come and you see that you changed it, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I trust myself because even when I mess up, I'm still going to take positives from it, still get better with it, understand like that's just what I do. That's just how it's going to be. So, yeah.
And I think, like I said, the foundation of that goes back to loving yourself, because when you love yourself, it's so much easier to like detach your self-worth from the negative feedback or, you know, from the mistake or, you know, what you feel like you didn't do your best on. Like being able to say like, okay, like this isn't because like I am bad at this, or not because it's not for me, or not because like, wow, I totally like just fucked this like client up or project or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's saying like, oh, wow, like I could have done something better here, or, oh, wow, this didn't work out this time. Like, let me do something again. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure and I suck at this. Like loving yourself, you can just like separate those, like keeping yourself from just clinging onto those like self-loathing labels, because you're coming at it from a place of loving yourself.
I mean, your body naturally wants to run from it opposed to take accountability. So I think, yeah, you loving yourself, you just look at it as like a speed bump opposed to anything real detrimental. Like you kind of also take a look at what you've been through. You kind of scale it all and you say, okay, this is nothing.
Right. In the grand scheme, like I'm not going to let this like make me not love myself or impact me that I love myself. So with that, because for me, like I said, these were stepping stones, at least for me, like self-awareness to the love to the trust. But just because I started building that evidence, and just because I had these A, B, C, D reasons of why I should trust myself, that didn't always help me believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, you know, I could have the thought process all day of like, you know, I have this evidence, I've done this once, I can do it again. It worked out this time, so why wouldn't it work out this time? But like, just because you love yourself doesn't mean you're not going to like struggle with the self-doubt, and you're going to struggle with the insecurity sometimes. And so, you know, when it comes to you, like, even if you love yourself, even whenever you trust yourself, tell me, like, maybe when are some times that it's maybe sometimes still hard to believe in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's just always going to be windows of insecurity, and windows of like, can you do it? I think it's important to go through those. I think it's important to face them. You know, anyone could go through it and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm quitting, I'm taking a different route.
Mm-hmm.
But when you love and trust yourself to the point where, you know, you're allowed to feel, you know, you're allowed to go through it. And I think you just give yourself some time and space. But at the end of the day, if you're building up this trust and love, you're going to eventually tell yourself, all right, quit being a bitch, deal with it.
Yeah. Put yourself
go through it.
Yeah.
You felt it. You've gone through it. Let's keep it rolling, because you got more opportunities. This world has way more people in it than you're letting this little moment, you know, affect you.
Yes.
If you've got this one loss, go get 5 more.
Yes.
And
5 more wins, not 5 more losses.
Yeah. Hell, get 5 more off in the team.
It's true. Learn from that shit.
Let's learn. Yeah, just be open to being okay with it. You know, I think we've all grown up to think we're not allowed to be vulnerable. We're not allowed to be indestructible, or we're trying to be indestructible when it's just not the case.
Yes.
Everyone we feel like is super strong, and it's all a facade, because it's, you know, we're not going to post our worst times. We're only going to post the best times. So everyone goes through it. Everyone has those down times, and it's really just a matter of allowing yourself to go through it, experience it, because once you get that past one, the next one is right around the corner, and you're going to have to do it all over again. So without those repetitions, you can either dwell in it longer and longer, or as you go through it, you start understanding how it's working and how you're feeling, and being aware when that happens, you can start getting over it quicker and quicker, and, you know, start dealing with it a lot better. And that's the only way to do that, is to go through those moments without any, you know, hesitation. You know, you can't really, you don't want to find yourself in a window where you're dwelling on it too much. You want to find yourself in a window where you're like, okay, this is happening. How do I feel? Okay, cool. I don't like being here. How do I get out of here? Okay, I can do X, Y, and Z. Boom, we're done. Like, it's like, leave it in the past. Let's keep going. We have opportunity to, you know, better this moment, learn from this moment, better it, and keep moving forward. That way, when the next one comes, you're able to get past it as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like, same as me, like, I like kind of what you're saying, and like kind of exactly what like I have to do when I'm struggling with believing myself is honestly like going back to that trust that I've done it before. I've overcame challenges. I've gotten through the hard shit. I haven't ran away from it. I've chose to keep going, and now I'm here, and I've seen success in that. And so it's almost like when it comes to believing in myself, as far as like not necessarily having that evidence to fall back on for this brand new challenge or this brand new experience or this brand new goal I'm going after, believing in myself for me is trusting future me. So putting a lot of hope and putting a lot of trust in future me that will figure it out, and hope that this is what's for me, because if not, it wouldn't be within my realm of reality, right? So for me, that's what belief is like, I have this evidence in the past, so let me just bank and trust and hope that future me is like gonna be that bitch and figure it out. And so far, she has been. So
out here.
Yes.
No, I like that too. That that future self. I often, I don't do that future stuff. I think I'm more so in the present more often. And just kind of say like, Or maybe a sense of also future self, because I just say, I'm a bad person. I'm a bad dude. Like, I'm that guy. And that's who my future self is. But at the same time, I'm still that person. I read a book, Becoming Supernatural, and it's all about bringing your future self to the present. So, yeah, that's just a really good thought and notion, because even when things start to get heavy, you kind of just take a step back and say, all right, you're that dude, you're that girl, you know, we are who we are. This is what we do.
Yeah.
We deal with shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is what we do. How are we going to go about this?
Yeah. And even if I fail, even if I make a mistake, like I love myself and I trust myself enough to figure it out. And I love myself enough, especially that like, it's going to be okay. Like it's not.
It's gonna be okay.
It's going to be fucking fine. Yes. Chill out.
And it's like, yeah, I had a business thing that came up where I felt like it got me to a survival mode state where I was feeling it in my gut and it was just bothering me. And I had to meditate on it. But I literally was like, dude, this is not going to be the reason why you make it in this world.
Yes. Or don't make it in this world. Like,
right, exactly.
One situation is ever going to define that.
No, exactly. So, yeah, you just got to try to shrink it.
Yeah.
And really put it where it needs to be, opposed to it clouding the entire atmosphere that you're living in.
100%. So we talked a lot about like loving, trusting yourself, believing in yourself. But I want to touch a little bit too, because these are two separate, different things of, you know, loving, trusting, and believing in yourself, but loving, trusting, and believing in your journey. So how is that different from you? Like, you know, we don't have to go back into like, we know what it means to love, trust, believe in yourself. But what does that mean as far as like when you don't know what your path is going to look like, or when the path is getting confusing, or maybe even like take us back like before when you didn't even know what your journey was going to look like? Like, how did you build that love, trust, and belief in your own journey?
So I left it to God, to be honest. You know, I just started growing my faith more than anything. Half my life I've been deaf, dumb, and blind, you know, like I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
A part of my, like a lot of my journey. So with that,
I'm blind. It took me a minute to process that, but I'm like, damn, that was the exact thing we got on.
Your boy was lost.
Lost.
Your boy was lost.
Yeah.
But once I started finding my passion, I literally was like, oh, okay, let me just stay this route. And my passion with video and creation, like I was just like, oh shit, this is it. Okay, I think this is it. So you start just kind of following that path and, you know, just having faith and knowing like it's going to be okay. At the end of the day, it's going to be okay. Worst case scenario, you're a highly qualified human being. You can literally do whatever you want in this world. Like, yeah, it feels a little scary right now, but just stay on the route, see what happens, and from there, make a decision. So just having the faith of knowing like everything is going to be okay, and like everything happens for a reason too. Like I'm a big believer in that, and I just go with the flow. You know, if you ask one of those people that do the whole horoscope stuff, I'm an Aquarius, so apparently I'm really good at going with the flow. So
okay.
I usually just go with the flow and put my efforts towards things that I need to when I know I need to, and then I rest on it. I don't try to think about it too much nowadays because it's just not going to do anything for me. But
yes,
I think having faith in the journey, having faith in knowing you're doing what you can, doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know, you're crossing your boxes every day, and you know it's not a perfect everyday thing, but you put enough effort towards the more positive things that you're doing, they will overshadow the negative. You put enough energy towards it. I also have a lot of faith of putting energy towards things and getting it back. Like I'm gonna get this energy back.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a huge believer of that now, because I've just seen too many examples where I'm like, oh wow. For example, like if I try to reach out to one person all of a sudden I'm getting calls. Like I'm getting my phone's ringing. I'm like, okay, cool. Like just put out the energy, man. This shit will come back to you.
Yes.
But yeah, just staying faithful to it, staying true to the journey, and then just making sure I putting out energy. I can't be stagnant. I cannot be doing anything. So that really helped the journey so far is just, staying true to the faith and staying true to putting out energy for sure.
I love that. Yes. And I think like what you're getting at too a little bit is like just choosing to be persistent. Like, and you said flow too, like going with the flow. And I'm like the exact same way. I'm a Libra, so a little different. I'll be honest, not really a zodiac girly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but
I have no idea what it is. But yeah, I looked up Aquarius before.
Supposedly. But you said like going with the flow, and I'm the same way in life too. Like I very much am not like a structure and rigid. I don't need to know exactly how it's going to work out, but it's almost like knowing I'm going with the flow of the stream. You know what I like? I think I just made that up, but like just knowing that like I'm going with the flow, but like I know I'm putting my energy in the right places that I know it's going to go where I want it to go. So I feel that 100% of like releasing almost the need to control the how and just trusting that you'll get there and you'll be exactly where you're supposed to be.
A good analogy would be like a canoe going down the river, right?
Okay.
You see people bumping and grinding or bumping around in the boat.
Okay.
At the end of the day, even if you don't do anything, you're still going through the flow. Like you're still going to go through the river's flow. It's not going to be a smooth ride, but as long as you're steering the best of your ability, no matter what, you're going to go down that stream. So
yeah. Yep. As long as you have that love, as long as you have that trust, and as long as you have that belief, like you're going to get to where you need to go. I like that a lot. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
100%. For me, like loving and trusting and believing in my journey was a lot harder, to be honest, than it was like to love and trust and believe in myself, just because like I like very much had this like strict mindset, or not mindset, but just like this very like strict vision that I had for myself, I guess, like very ideal vision. And then like when I went to college and like I just had my own experiences, I was awakened to the fact that like the path that I was going down like wasn't something that I loved. And it's not that. And because that like authentic love wasn't there for it, it was really hard for me to trust in it. And it was really hard for me to believe in it. And it was really hard to take action towards it because I knew deep down I didn't love it. Right. And it was so hard to do, but I ended up like 2.5 years into college, ended up like changing my major, but I was so miserable. Like it just was not enjoyable. I was just doing things because I felt like I had to do them. And then like that moment that I decided like I have to love my journey and I have to trust my journey and I have to believe in it. So I need to do what I need to do to get there. And so I changed like my whole major, and like literally I knew, like we were talking about validation, confirmation, like this was confirmation for me because like I was not making good grades in college. I was so miserable. Like I was skipping class all the time, finding any and every excuse to not freaking go to class. And then I changed my major and I was literally getting up for 8 a.m. Like I was excited to go to 8 a.m. I was also working full time while going to school full time. And I was literally making straight A's, and it was so easy for me. And that's when I realized like, if I'm not loving something and if I don't trust myself to do it and I'm not believing enough to take action in it, it is not for me. It is not my journey and it's not aligned with me. And it was scary as fuck to sit here and say this was my vision and this was my goal for so long. Now I want something completely different, but like I'm so glad that I made that choice. And I'm so glad I just chose to love myself enough and love my journey enough to make those changes, because I literally don't know where I would be if I would be a teacher, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
Like shout out to all the teachers, but like
we love you all.
Fucking hard.
But damn.
Not me. Yeah, but damn. So I don't think I would have been like unhappy, and I don't think that I would have like, hated myself in my life, but I would not have been able to experience the authentic and like true joy that like my career brings me and like where I'm at in my journey right now. So that's what that looked like for, learning to love, trust, believe in my journey, was like recognizing when something is not aligned and then like taking scary, messy action to get myself aligned to it.
Yeah, I kind of got forced into it, luckily. But when I first got aware that I didn't fit in the mold was when I got laid off. But I had already started my business. And when I got laid off, I just thought to myself, I do not feel like bullshitting my way into another job. Like, hi, I'm Hilda Zufamadu. This is my resume. And this is what you should hire me. Imagine. Oh my gosh. And just the thought of that made me sick almost. Like, I'm really not trying to bullshit my way into another job. Like, I just don't want to spend a couple of months trying to get a job and then be miserable again in 6 months. Like that.
Yes. Yeah. Like if I'm going to put all that effort and energy into changing it, it's going to be damn worth it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So now I feel you on being aware of the alignment that fits you opposed to you trying to fit the alignment that doesn't. So.
Yes, exactly. Opposed to you just trying to fit whatever you thought was going to work for you.
Right.
And I think too, something that and I think we're just kind of getting at like why it's so hard to love, trust, and believe in yourself because of these things, because like of these desires that we thought that we had, or because it's like the traditional route. And like speaking specifically like in Texas, like there is very much a ideal vision as far as like, you graduate college, you go to college, you graduate college, you settle down, you have kids, you have a house, boom, that's your life. And like that was so not what I realized that I wanted. And here I am in Los Angeles, California with no kids and will probably not buy a house, so like it's just, and it doesn't even have to be like big changes like that too. But like, even for example, like I wanted to go to school to be a teacher with kids. I love kids. I still work with kids. I still work with families, but it's in a completely different way. And I had to recognize that like what I really cared about was teaching children, but like so on a social emotional level, not academic.
You have to teach, when you're a teacher, you have to be in like a box.
Yes, exactly. There's no freedom. And there's so many like politics with it and all that. Like I have so much more freedom to like coach and like give my clients the space that I know that they need. And so making that decision, like I said, I just literally don't know where I would be if I just wouldn't have done the work to love myself enough, to trust myself enough, to believe in myself enough to like embark on my own journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe give us like maybe like one or two like ways, maybe things that you have done in the past or some things that you're doing now whenever you were first starting that journey of loving yourself, trusting and believing yourself in your journey. Or like I said, maybe some things that you're doing now that our listeners can take home with them.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say I do consistently right now is a meditation called Blessing of the Energy Centers. It's a meditation I learned from the book Becoming Supernatural. And essentially, it's about focusing on where you're feeling, right? So if I'm feeling tension with my ego or relationships, I focus on blessing that center and trying to bring it to peace. And then elevating that energy towards my heart where I can start creating for myself again. And then from there, bringing the energy up to the point where all I'm feeling, all I'm focusing on is a better version of myself when I get out of that meditation. That's really helped. One, it's helped me steady the mind. When you're focusing on yourself and focusing on your energy, you stop focusing on the external and you start finding peace out of it because you start to see how insignificant it is. It's just nothing. It's just, it's literally nothing, you know? And once you start seeing it in the insignificant light it's in, you can start creating for yourself and realize, okay, that thing is so tiny that I can create something so much bigger. with that notion, I just had to do a couple of things here or there to really level myself out. But yeah, it's really about feeling it, noticing it, and then being intentional with getting rid of it, or at least lessening how much it's affecting you.
Yeah.
So that really comes down to I had a word, but it comes down to self-awareness and understanding that our problems are so small. Like the universe is so big.
Mm-hmm.
The universe is so big that what I'm going through is just such a tiny speck.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to treat it like that. You have to treat it like it's a tiny speck, because we are so much bigger than this little issue.
And I have so much power and love, like, for myself and my life to overcome that, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would say meditation for sure. Again, if you want to look that meditation up, it's called The Blessing of the Energy Centers. And if you...
We'll have it linked too. I feel like anything we'll talk about, we'll definitely have linked all in our description.
Right. And it's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. He can, if you YouTube it, you'll have a walkthrough for it. But that's always a solid one for me.
Perfect. I love that. I think just like you said, I think the very, very first thing I would do if you're on your self-love journey, or you're just learning to build that trust, and just learning to build that belief in yourself, is just start with self-awareness. Like, do you know who you are? Ask yourself, what do I value? What experiences have shaped me? And how has that created me to be the person that I am? And how can I use those experiences? And how can I use the skills and tools that I've learned along the way? Or maybe what have I learned on the way that I don't want to do? And then figure out how you can apply that in your life and your future. So if in your career, in your relationships, really take that self-awareness and use it to your advantage in the different areas of your life. Shameless little plug, I do have at the link in my bio some journal prompts literally talking about all this stuff, like growing self-awareness, learning what your authentic self is, what your authentic desires are. So if you're really serious and want to grow that self-awareness, you can always check that out at the link in my bio, or of course we'll have it linked in the description. But yeah, the first piece sounds like the self-awareness. Then you can love yourself. Then you can start building that evidence to trust yourself. And then that is going to allow you to have the hope to believe in yourself and believe in your journey.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, hopefully you guys...
This is a good episode. Holy shit.
I know. I love it. Hopefully you guys feel inspired. Hopefully you feel motivated. Hopefully this gave you some clarity. And yeah, hopefully you can take the activities that we suggested and put them into practice, and hopefully start loving yourself, trusting yourself, believing in yourself more.
Yeah. And if you can't use what we've given you, at least find a way to, be intentional. I think that's a really good start. You may not know how to solve the problem, but acknowledging the problem is also a solution as well. So
yeah, that is the very first step. I love it. Well, sounds good. We'll see you guys next week. We'll talk to you later.
Peace out. This is the Awaken Podcast.